So I know you probably want to immediately talk about Prototype, but I know we can't do that. We have to talk about Big Dreams and Broken
That
Hearts
is where
first.
I was going to go. Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
Hello and welcome to Televised TV Movies Story, where we talk about TV movies and similar kinds of projects. I'm Eliza, this is Gordon, and
Hello.
we are recording a double episode today, but it'll release to you guys like normal. And so today we're starting. You know how you have all the information written down probably, Gordon. You go ahead, tell them what we're
Yeah.
watching.
So we are talking about our very first of the blank story title formulas, which I'm happy about. Big Dreams and Broken Hearts: The Dottie West Story. A biopic of country music star Dottie West, who I didn't know anything about. I don't know if I'd ever heard of her before this, but it's it's exactly what you expect for
Hmm.
a TV movie country music biopic. It's this is going to be a real short episode. I can already tell because I have so little to say about the movie. But
Oh, definitely.
um
I'm
uh
glad I'm not the only one.
yeah, it's nothing. Um as far as the breakdown, just before we get into it, directed by Bill Delia, written by Teresa Rogerton, starring Michele Lee, William Russ, Lisa Akey, other people, a whole bunch of country music stars as themselves, including Kris Kristofferson. Wait, is he actually in the movie? Did I make that up?
Yeah, he is, I
Okay,
think.
I did not. A lot of it, other than like Kenny Rogers, they're all just talking heads,
Yeah.
documentary style, talking about the actual Dottie West. Um,
Yeah, you got
but
like Dolly Parton, Loretta
yeah,
Lynn, Kris
Ken
Kristofferson.
Kenny Rogers, Willie Nelson, Larry Gatling, Chet Atkins, a whole bunch of them. Kenny Rogers also playing himself in the movie of the movie, like in the
Hmm.
plot section of it. It broadcast January 22nd, 1995 on CBS, opposite The Rookie on ABC, Married with Children, the movie The Rookie, the Clint Eastwood, Charlie Sheen movie. Um, on Fox, there was Married with Children and Dream On. NBC, there was another TV movie, A Family Divided. Uh, yeah, that's it. Like I just have, especially because I just watched the movie we're going to be doing next week, and I have a lot to say about that one. I
Hmm.
have relatively even less to say about this. I just like I don't know. I did take a lot of notes of just like things that happen in the movie, but this is not going to be one of our more in-depth conversations. I'll
Oh,
say that much already.
definitely not. Um, so I was more intrigued by the commercials that aired
Yes.
briefly during like the upload we had of this where it's like I saw like the big country. And
I
it's like,
I did
hey,
write down I wrote down what all of the commercials were. So
oh,
well
read through that. I want to hear.
yeah, okay. I already okay. So in order, and they were interspersed throughout. Um and a lot of them were cut off just like partway
Hmm.
through. Some Gold Fever movie with David Carradine that there was another full trailer for later that was apparently called The Lost Treasure of Dos Santos, and also Bisquick Pancakes. Next up was some Naomi Judd talk show that she apparently did, previewing her upcoming interviews with Tim Allen, Jane Seymour, and Fran Drescher. John Wayne, William Holden, John Ford movie called The Horse Soldiers.
Hmm.
Uh, I also wrote down here this one ended with a lead in back to the movie Big Dreams and Broken Hearts, the Dottie West story, where they referred to it as starring Kenny Rogers, which not really.
He's
Uh,
in it, but
yeah. More commercials. Another commercial. The other one for Lost Treasure of Dos Santos. Some country music event, some like TV event where they were interviewing or doing something with a bunch of country musicians, and also William Shatner. And not Ellen Barkin, but an actress. There was some other actress that they mentioned there that it was like, and also William Shatner and somebody else, but I don't remember who. A trailer for Papillon, a trailer for Bisquick Pancakes again, some match like a matches commercial where there was a little anthropomorphized match
Mhm.
guy who like did superhero stuff, I guess. Uh, two different commercials for a leasing like company or whatever. The first one where there was a guy carrying a big old car on his back, and the other one where a guy's arms got really long, to advertise leasing. And then a Motorola ad that got cut off halfway through where a French like secret agent was trying to hack into the mainframe to locate the world's smallest cellular phone. And then the big country, like you mentioned, and Rio Bravo. And then at the very end, there was a call this number and you can order a physical, I imagine, VHS copy of Big Dreams and Broken Hearts, the Dottie West story.
Hey, those VHSs are probably extremely valuable right now.
Yeah, we should have called the number to
We
see
should have.
what it is now, because there's no way it's still whatever that would have brought you to. But
Imagine somebody's just waiting by the phone with like 500 copies of Big Dreams and Broken Hearts, just hoping
no, that's not
somebody,
the full title. That's not the full title,
the
Eliza.
Dottie West story.
There you go.
Uh, God. Anyway, let's actually get into this very generic movie. I want
Yeah.
to just briefly touch upon the opening of this movie, which is maybe the most interesting part, because it starts with Dottie West. She's driving along the road. She runs out of gas. She says, "Sweet Kenny Rogers gives you a car and you run out of gas," like very frustrated. But then some friend picks her up, who I thought was Kenny Rogers at first,
I did too. Yeah.
before the actual
But
Kenny Rogers showed up later. And then they drive off, and then they get into a Babes in Toyland moment, and by that I mean they crash their car and she dies. Um,
yes,
and I thought there was like a fade to white, and I thought for a second like she was going to go to Toyland or something.
it is going to be a heaven movie. Oh no.
Yeah.
No. Not quite so lucky are we to have a movie that is formally interesting and dealing with the subject in an interesting manner. No. We start off with the death, which by the way, she died in like December of 1991 and this movie was January of 1995. So that's like 4 years after the fact that we're doing this big old I mean not big, it's a TV movie. That is
It's not like not big. It's
it's
like
not big, but it's
it's an
like
event.
it's but like there's a, distinction that this is a I don't know, but it's still kind of wild that it's so soon after the fact that we're gonna do this
But
biopic for a person that ultimately didn't have like the most narrative relevant story. Like her story doesn't necessarily lend itself to being an interesting
yeah.
narrative, is what I'm trying to say.
I
Even though there's moments here and there that could be something, but it's kind of it's like a especially standard biopic for the
mhm.
most part.
Yeah, and it's like I think this is probably made though like by like people who knew her who were trying to memorialize her. It's like
I mean,
this wasn't like
yeah.
trying to exploit her
Oh,
story for a
yeah.
minute.
I mean, one of the talking heads is her own daughter.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah, it's very and like all of these other country music stars that are in the movie as talking heads, like they're talking about her. They're talking about like they knew her. They had relationships with her. They like these are her friends talking about her. So it's not
Yeah.
like an exploitation thing. But it also does kind of it is not a fully lionizing biopic. Like it
Yeah.
does one of the one of the wild things after this big opening death we get a bunch of those talking heads and nobody else has a like a subheader to be like, hey, this is Dolly Parton, this is Kenny, because like you don't need it, you know who
Hmm.
Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers and all these people are. But there's one guy who's just listed as bank official, and he just she was a criminal, pure and simple. And it's like every so often cutting back to this bank official talking about how she like wasn't paying her back taxes. And like that's just such a wild thing to put in your biopic of I'm trying to like Ray. If you did Ray and it's like, oh, here's all these people that loved Ray Charles, and then some guy just being like, you know what? Ray Charles sucked. He didn't pay the IRS. I'm just, picking an example, but like it's just such a wild thing to throw in there for the opening to your movie, essentially, is one bank official listed as bank official being like, Dottie West sucked and I'm glad she's dead. Right after her daughter being like, I miss my mama every day and she was the best. She was so special. Dottie West should have been in prison.
I wonder if Geo was inspired by this movie.
I we'll talk at some point. I because we kind of accidentally this whole month of programming, uh, you can find one-to-one parallels with to some degree or another with all of the first month of programming.
Oh, interesting.
Not like full one-to-one, but like there are specific details that you can pull out. For example, this being a biopic of a famous woman who died tragically. Uh,
With talking heads throughout.
yes, yeah, that as well. That as well.
And like
Um,
our next week, we're going to talk about another David Morse movie.
oh, that wasn't even the one specifically I was thinking of as a connection because there's a different one for the Langoliers, in my estimation. But we'll get into that when we get into
Yeah.
it. Oh boy, yeah,
Anyway,
this
back to the movie.
movie. Yeah, it's not great. It's
It's
not bad. It's like it is, it's your standard music biopic that's mostly just kind of boring.
mhm.
Ultimately, is its sin, but there's some stuff. But
Yeah, like I'll say like the best part of this movie I think is Michele Lee as Dottie West. I think
oh
she
yeah,
does a really great job like acting. I guess there's not much more to say, but it's like she embodies the role really well. Not that I knew anything about Dottie West before this, but she, from what I can tell and from what people say, she like really resembles and acts like the person really well.
yeah, it's a solid performance. It's this isn't a bad act, like a poorly acted movie in general. The actress that they have playing Patsy Cline in her few scenes was really charismatic.
Hmm.
There's some duds with like some of the guys she ends up with and all that, but like hell, I mean, Kenny Rogers is pretty charming in his few scenes as himself.
Hmm.
Uh,
Makes me,
but
this made me more excited to watch the Gambler movies.
and all of the like there's a lot of Kenny Rogers TV movies that we're gonna get through. Like we could do a whole themed Kenny Rogers month if we wanted.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, to start off with the beginning of the movie, I mean, it does your biopic thing of here's 5 minutes of her as a kid that like comes up later because there's she was like being abused and molested by her father that which like doesn't really feel like it's hinted at the beginning and then comes up later in a big monologue of her returning home. But it also just sets up, she's a singer and she has siblings and she's this headstrong girl and then jump forward to
Hmm.
the future and she's a woman and she's married and she wants to be a singer and she's not given that opportunity and then all of a sudden she's given that opportunity and then all of a sudden she's famous. And it happens about as quickly as that.
Hmm.
It just sort of like there's a scene where she's talking to some event coordinator or whatever, and he's dismissive and he's like, "Oh, you're not going to be able to be a musician. You're a woman." And then the next scene, that same guy is talking to her husband and is like, "Hey, your wife's about to perform on the stage." And then the next scene after that, she's famous. And it just I mean, there's only so much pacing you can really dole out with a movie that's like an hour 15 or so if you cut out all those commercials. But like it does really rush right into the main sort of heft of the story, you know?
Yeah. And this really just is the most stereotypical music biopic. Like, this is pretty much the same thing as Coal Miner's Daughter and
Exactly.
uh that one that was about Patsy Cline. Sweet Dreams, was it called?
That sounds right.
I'm not totally certain, but I watched it at some
Yes,
point.
yeah, because it's the one about the country music star that's not country or music box out of the Jessica Lange 80s nominations. It is Sweet Dreams, right. Um
Oh,
no, yeah,
okay, yeah. I
Yeah,
guess that makes, yeah, it's the one about country music that's not country or music box. It's
yeah,
funny.
exactly, exactly. That's how I've always remembered which one that is by which ones it isn't. But
Uh,
yeah, I mean, like we've kind of forever been doing not just the music biopic, but the country music biopic is it's its own little like sub niche that there's a whole lot of. You get to like Walk the Line, which is like not exclusively country, but like Johnny Cash is a country music
yeah.
star among other genres. And I Saw the Light, the Hank Williams one with Tom
Oh,
Hiddleston,
I
that
forgot
is
about that
apparently
one.
really bad. Um,
My mom really liked that movie.
yeah. And like not even like Tender Mercies isn't a biopic, but it still fits in that like it's Hollywood has always loved the country music star as a story to tell.
Yeah.
And this one hits a lot of those same notes and you know it tells it as fine as it can, but it also at a certain point like just like Coal Miner's Daughter, we get a brief interlude where she's very close friends with Patsy Cline, and then Patsy Cline dies, and it has a negative impact on our protagonist.
Hmm.
And that like God, there's a whole bunch of this movie that I just didn't take any notes on
Yeah. And
because really not a lot happens.
yeah, one thing I did like from when I was looking things up about this was like one of the few pieces of IMDb trivia is that the person who's playing Patsy Cline, they got from like a local play where they were doing about Patsy Cline, but she
Huh,
didn't play Patsy Cline in that play. She played just some random character, but they
huh.
grabbed her so she could play Patsy Cline in this.
Fascinating. I know, I think I saw that she was a replacement because the person that was going to play her was sick or something, but
Yeah.
I didn't look too much further into that. Um, yeah, what
Yeah.
else?
Yeah, like some of the notes I wrote, like I was just so shocked at how little I was learning about Dottie West in this movie. And I wrote
Yeah.
down everything I learned. She is named Dorothy. She is a good singer. She is a mother, and she is unlucky in love.
I mean, there were like she was the first woman to win a Grammy for country music. That was something I learned about Dottie West in this
But
movie.
that doesn't tell me about her, like as a
True.
person. It's just
True.
like her accomplishments and like
Well,
what
well,
what
no,
her
there are
interiority.
there are other things like she was a compulsive spender and like that came
Okay,
back
true.
in the and she gravitated towards younger men and she had all the stuff with her father and how that affected her relationship with her daughter and she accused her daughter of or not even accused her daughter but like was really cautious about her daughter's relationship with her husband that ended up not actually being anything but like there were there was stuff that did like get into her
Okay.
drive and her artistic drive which like I did get some of that. I did like there is, but I also don't blame you for not picking up on that because at a certain point, this movie just really loses you.
Yeah.
And if you're not like making an effort to tune back in, like I was multitasking a lot during this movie, and some of that stuff I just sort of absorbed subconsciously, I guess, because I didn't write any of that down as notes, but I did note it, I guess, in my head. But yeah, there's some stuff here and there that like does get at a like I feel like you could do a really interesting biopic of her, and this isn't it.
Hmm.
And part of that is the talking heads are they break up the rhythm of the movie. As fun as it is to see like Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton and Willie Nelson and all these people talking about her and sort of reminiscing on her presence and her place in the country music scene. They really take you out of it because you're like, oh yeah, I'm watching a movie about this person that all these real people did know, and it really sort of keeps any emotional connection to the movie version of Dottie West at an arm's length because you're never not aware of the fact that you're watching an actress playing this woman who is dead.
Hmm.
And it just I couldn't get immersed in it because I was seeing all of these people playing themselves, talking directly to the camera about Dottie West in the past tense.
Mhm.
And it messes with your perception of the narrative of Dottie West as the movie's presenting her.
Yeah. And I think I did at least kind of like the talking head specifically as a device for this being a TV movie to ease you back in from commercial break and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But watching it like we are, where it's like all the commercials cut out mostly, and it's just like it's just randomly you get the talking heads coming in, and it's like oh okay, but then yeah, it has that problem.
They would work better if it was a documentary. Because like the thing with Gia with the talking heads is those are all actors playing characters. Like within the context, like you still get talking head interviews with Elizabeth Mitchell and Mercedes Ruehl playing their characters. And in this, because it's the real people, it just took me out of it. As much as I did like it, as much as I did like to see those people, uh, I would have it would have fit better if more than just Kenny Rogers showed up in the plot of the movie as well. Like if we
Mhm.
saw them interacting with her in the text of the movie, it would make it mesh together better.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it was a device that didn't quite work, even though it was enjoyable. It made for a stilted kind of movie, ultimately.
Yeah. Yeah, and you were talking a little bit ago about like how, we both kind of zoned out a little bit of this movie because it's just, the standard biopic. But there was one thing that immediately jolted me back in to this movie, and that was near the end when, like, she loses her house due to the IRS stuff and like they're doing an auction of all her stuff, and she's sad, she walks away, but then somebody comes back and hands her Marmee from Little Women Porcelain Doll.
Oh,
And
it was her daughter, I thought, right?
I might have been. I was
Because
checked out by that point, but
Because there was a part earlier than that where some woman comes up to her and is like, "Oh, I bought one of your vases at this auction. Can you sign this piece of paper for me? And can you sign it Dorothy West or whatever? Because I knew your mom." And then she gets sad about that. And then her daughter comes up and is like, "Hey, I bought you your doll back."
yeah.
And it's a coming together moment because they've argued over a few different things at that point.
Yeah, and but it's like I was just so like, what do you mean you have a Marmee from Little Women Porcelain Doll?
Yeah,
Did I miss this? Was this something earlier in the movie where it's like something super important to her? But it's like, but
not that I
also
can tell.
just the fact that it's a Marmee from Little Women Porcelain Doll.
Yeah, of all the like, it's not even Joe, it's Marmee. What?
I guess that's just how
Fascinating.
much she loves being a mother.
I guess so. Yeah, what other notes? At this point, I'm already just going through to like just other notes I took.
God, are
Her
we
le
even at 30 minutes? Yeah.
barely, no, not even, not even.
No.
We're like barely at 20. Um, her new boyfriend at the very end is younger than her son's, and then she ends up scratching his car because she's mad at him because he won't let her pose for a magazine, for We Magazine, which, I mean, what is We Magazine?
It's kind of like people,
That
but
makes sense. But yeah, she was asked to pose for that, and he was like, "You can't do that. You're my wife." And she's like, "You're like 24. Shut up." And she
yeah.
scratches his car, and
And
then he's
the
gone.
car gets vengeance on her.
Yes, of course. Well, yeah, she ends up owing almost $2 million in back taxes or whatever because she spends a lot of money. Yeah, oh yeah, that's one of the other things about her is that she really wants to buy this house. She really wants to have bought this big elaborate house with like they mentioned like 20 rooms that nobody uses. And that is, it's because she grew up in a small house with a bunch of siblings and was treated poorly and abused. And so she wants to have a big house of her own that she can buy. And like that's a thing that the movie touches on every so often that would have been more interesting to really dive into as a character like motivation, more so than just getting brought up every so often. But That's another thing about her.
Hmm.
Um, there's a scene near the end uh, where it's an extended sequence of her just slow dancing in her room with a framed photo of, I think, her daughter, which felt very Leland Palmer. Just like, I mean, in the sense that like there's the scene where Leland Palmer also does that, not like any other. But yeah, it was
I knew what you meant,
no,
but
yeah, it
it's just a
was
funny thing to say.
yeah, it was kind of out of place. Like, whoa, what's going on here? Why are we spending like 4 minutes of this movie on her dancing with a framed photo, and then her ex-husband from the beginning shows up and she yells at him, and then the movie ends, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it just kind of ends, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back like it opened with the car accident, and then it ends cutting back into that scene of, hey, I bet you forgot about the car accident, and then it's
I
one of
did
them.
not.
Yeah. And then one of them, maybe it's Kenny, maybe I don't remember who it is, but talks about how she didn't like die in the immediate crash. She pulled her neighbor out of the car and paramedics showed up and she was like, "Oh no, take him first. He needs it more." And then she died from that, like after that. But that gets mentioned and then it just sort of fades to black or whatever, and then you can buy Big Dreams and Broken Hearts, the Dottie West story. Call 1-800. It's just like it does really jolt you back into it, where you've had this, sad music and it fades away nicely, and then bam, infomercial voice. Buy our movie.
I do
Uh,
remember being pretty jarred by that. But God, this is the only other note I have about this movie is that one scene, they're giving each other Fourth of July presents, and I just thought that was very strange.
I don't remember that. What?
Yeah, like they gave each other presents for Fourth of July, and but now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably related to that thing where, like you were saying, Dottie West wanted a big house because she grew up like poor, and so it's like she wants to keep giving everybody presents
Yeah,
because, like, especially give her kids presents because she grew up without any presents. So presents for every holiday.
there you go. Yeah, the actor, the Michele Lee who plays Dottie West, who we mentioned, did all the singing as well. They didn't use Dottie West's recordings, and she does a good job with that. The few times that we do get, like, there's not as many like singing scenes in it. She does act naturally, which is nice, and she does some, like, I don't know any Dottie West songs, so I don't know the originals that she sings here, but like she does a good job with that. Um,
Hmm.
I like the scene where she and Patsy and a couple other women are sitting around talking about like oh well, what if they introduced the male singers the same way they introduce us? And they're like, oh, I want you to give a warm welcome to this cute little man wearing a sequins that go all the way down to, well, you know. And they just sort of fall over themselves laughing. I thought that was a cute scene. I thought that was fun to see them just sort of hanging out, being gals. I liked that part.
Hmm.
But yeah, Kenny Rogers when he shows up, I mean, he's just in the recording studio of like, oh, I was booked after you guys, but no, you won't even know I'm here. And then he like pops back in like, well, actually, what if you do it this way? Sorry, I'm interrupting. I won't interrupt. Actually, let me come in there and record the song with you. What if I take this verse? Like she gives him the verse. He's not like intruding on it, but like, you know,
It's funny.
it's a fun little sequence. I love Kenny Rogers. He's a great presence, just like in general, and he brings a spark to his few scenes, and they do the duet between them is really good. I mean, Kenny Rogers' great voice,
Of
so
course.
you've got that going for it. But like, it's a good scene and a good little montage of them performing together, and then he's gone, just sort of out of the movie, other than the talking heads. But no, I like Kenny Rogers. I
Oh
liked him
no,
in
Kenny
this.
Rogers passed away. I just
Yeah, like last year, right? Or
2020 it says.
no, yes, last year was Kris Kristofferson.
Oh
I knew,
yeah.
yeah, I knew that. No, yeah, Kenny Rogers. Yeah, I remember when that happened. It was
And I
that's
just
sad.
realized it's like making this movie is like making a Kenny Rogers movie now because he
Yeah,
died in 2020.
Yeah, that would be the same time frame. Although he was like, what? How old was he?
Yeah,
Like
it wasn't a
80s?
tragic death.
Yeah,
He was
yeah,
81, but
yeah. But yeah, the time frame is close enough. But yeah, no, I have nothing more to say about Big Dreams and Broken Hearts, the Dottie West story.
I have one little thing.
Go
So
ahead.
I told you I had a game that I wanted to do, but then I
Oh yeah,
realized there wouldn't be much fun in playing the game. That's because I was going to do Dottie West albums that could be Best Actress film titles, and I was going to have you try and guess, but then I realized you know most of the Best Actress film
yeah.
titles. But I still pulled together a list of Dottie West albums that sound like Best Actress titles. So
There we go. What do
Here
we got?
Comes My Baby,
Yeah,
Suffer Time, With
yeah,
All My Heart and Soul,
yeah.
Country Girl, which is a real one, Country and West, Forever Yours, Careless Hands, I'm Only a Woman, If It's All Right With You slash Just What I've Been Looking For, and House of Love.
Those all do genuinely sound like they could be Best Actress nominees.
Like,
Wasn't there like some line in here where she mentions she's done like 45 albums
oh yeah,
or
she has
something?
so
Like,
fucking many.
yeah.
It's
Or
crazy.
she says either 45 or 75. Either way,
45
like
is,
45 makes more sense, but like crazy.
yeah,
Good for her.
yeah, and it's like I took out all the ones that said Dottie in the title, so it's
Yeah.
like, but yeah, like these, I genuinely want to watch Susan Hayward star in Suffer Time.
Oh yeah, they're all Susan Hayward things. Is the thing. It's like every single one of those is a Susan Hayward movie. Like they're all nominated for her.
Man. But yeah, that was it. I have more of a game for next week's episode, but
Okay. Looking forward to that. But yeah, I don't have any further thoughts on Big Dreams and Broken Hearts, the Dottie West story.
neither do I. But I am glad that we talked about this because this is just the joys of our podcast, the randomness of it. We can watch these fucking nothing movies, and then other times we'll watch
Prototype,
Prototype.
for example. Yeah.
God,
Uh Teaser in there for next week's
I
episode, which
will
we're
be
about to record and I'm very excited for.
yeah, like I'm sorry for you guys for having to sit through 35 minutes of us trying to find something to talk about, which granted happens on your podcast sometimes as well.
Oh yeah.
Like we spent an hour faffing about with Get Give 'Em Hell Harry.
And Escape Me Never.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm not immune to that.
But
But
come back next week for Prototype. You'll have fun with that one.
yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you.